She said it so coldly that the air itself seemed to freeze between us. "I'm not yours to touch. Don't touch me." The words didn't just cut, they hollowed the room. I stood there, motionless, watching her zip up her coat like she was sealing a chapter of us. Claire had never spoken to me that way before. Once, she used to reach for my hand even in her sleep. Now, she recoiled as if my skin burned. We'd been married 6 years, together nearly a decade. The silence between us had grown slowly, like dust on old furniture, invisible until the light hit it. And that night, the light hit hard. I wanted to ask why. Was it me? Had I done something wrong again? But the way she looked past me made me understand. The why no longer mattered. That evening I sat in the living room long after she went upstairs. Her perfume lingered faintly, but warmth was gone. The sound of her door clicking shut upstairs echoed louder than any argument we'd ever had. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Coffee brewed, toast popped, and she scrolled through her phone. When I tried to speak, she said, "I'm late for work." The conversation died before it was born. Days turned into weeks. I tried everything. Flowers, quiet dinners, soft apologies for things I didn't even know I'd done. But she met every attempt with that same blank distance. Touch had become a crime. One Friday, I found myself leaving work early just to drive around aimlessly. The radio played songs about love lost, and I wondered if they were secretly written for men like me. Men who stayed long after they should have walked away. When I returned home, the lights were dim. Claire sat on the couch, phone pressed close to her face. She didn't notice me at first. Then, as she looked up, she quickly turned the screen. My gut twisted. "Who was that?" I asked quietly. She exhaled sharply, annoyed. "No one. A colleague." "Since when do colleagues make you smile like that?" Her eyes hardened. "Since when do you think you own me?" That line, "own me," stung. It wasn't about ownership. It was about the promise we made to each other. But suddenly I realized she no longer saw it that way. She stood, grabbed her bag, and said she was going to stay at her sister's for a few days. When the door closed, I didn't chase her. For the first time, I didn't want to. That night, I poured a drink and replayed everything. The laughter we used to share, the slow drift apart, the icy refusal that broke something inside me. I remembered her words like a curse. "Don't touch me." But somewhere between those words and the silence that followed, a thought began forming. Maybe she was right. Maybe she wasn't mine to touch anymore, because she had already given herself away somewhere else. The following Sunday, I drove to the small cafe near her office. We used to meet there every Thursday for breakfast. I waited, half hoping she wouldn't come, half hoping she would. At exactly 10, she walked in, not alone. A man followed behind her, too close, too familiar. They ordered together, laughed softly, and his hand brushed her back as they moved toward a table. She didn't flinch. She smiled. I sat there watching, my coffee untouched. The betrayal didn't explode. It settled quietly, heavy as wet ash. I'd been begging for affection from someone who'd already given it elsewhere. When she finally saw me, the color drained from her face. She whispered something to him and hurried over. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" "Having coffee," I said evenly. "Same as you." She opened her mouth, searching for a lie that might save her. None came. The silence between us said everything. That night, she came home, packing small things like she was moving through fog. She kept saying it wasn't what it looked like. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for explanations anymore. When she finally stopped speaking, I looked at her and said the words I never thought I'd say. "Then you're not mine to keep." She froze, realizing what that meant. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Her suitcase rested by the doorway, and my words hung in the air like smoke. Visible, heavy, impossible to take back. Claire blinked, as if trying to decide whether to fight or flee. "You don't mean that," she whispered. But I did. For years, I had built my life around her moods, her silence, her shifting boundaries. I had excused her distance as stress, her coldness as fatigue, her rejection as a phase. But now, standing in the ruins of what used to be us, I finally saw the truth. I had been holding onto a memory, not a marriage. I meant every word, I said. If I can't touch you, if I can't even reach you anymore, then what exactly am I keeping? Her eyes welled up, but the tears felt too late, like rain after a drought that's already turned the ground to stone. You don't understand, Ethan. I just needed space. Space. I almost laughed. You didn't need space, Claire. You needed someone else to fill it. Her shoulders slumped. She didn't deny it. That silence, that guilty, broken silence, confirmed what I already knew. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I simply walked to the window and looked out at the fading dusk, the sky melting into shades of gray. Take your things, I said quietly, and go. When the door finally shut behind her, the house exhaled a sound I'd never heard before. It wasn't loneliness. It was peace trying to find its way back in. For the next few days, the quiet was unbearable. Every object in the house carried her fingerprints, every scent a ghost. But slowly, the silence began to shift. It stopped sounding like absence and started sounding like freedom. I focused on small things. Morning runs, black coffee, the sound of rain on the window. It's strange how the world keeps moving even when your life falls apart. 2 weeks later, I received a message. Claire wanted to meet, just to talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at the same cafe, the same place where I'd seen her with him. This time, she sat across from me, nervous, twisting her ringless fingers. I made a mistake, she began. I was confused, angry. I thought you didn't care anymore. I studied her carefully. She looked smaller, unsure. But there was something else. A faint expectation that I might forgive her, that I might still be the man who couldn't let go. I did care, I said slowly. I cared enough to fight for us, to fix what was breaking. But I was the only one fighting, Claire. You just watched. She looked down, tears pooling in her eyes. Can't we start over? I smiled sadly. We already did the moment you walked out. I started over without you. The words hurt to say, but they felt right. As I left the cafe, I didn't feel the sting of loss anymore. I felt clarity. The version of me that had once begged for her affection was gone. What remained was quieter, stronger. That night, I went home and finally rearranged the bedroom. New sheets, new scent. I opened the window and let the night air in. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. Weeks passed. I heard through a friend that the man she'd been seeing had moved on. I didn't feel satisfaction, only relief that I was no longer part of her endless cycle of blame and distance. Sometimes, memories of her still drift in, the laughter, the touch, the life we once imagined. But I don't dwell on it anymore. I remind myself of that night, of her cold refusal, and of my answer that finally set me free. I'm not yours to touch, she'd said. And I had replied, then you're not mine to keep. I didn't know it then, but those words didn't just end our marriage. They began my freedom. Now, when I look back, I realize something simple yet powerful. Love doesn't die when someone stops caring. It dies when you stop recognizing yourself trying to earn it. And that night, I stopped trying.